All right, let's get right into it. Forget all the flashy demos and the quick prototypes that are here today and gone tomorrow. This briefing is for people who build things to last. Today, we're going over the architectural plans for a totally different kind of AI, one that's built like an institutional-grade asset, engineered from the ground up for permanence, for value, and for real integrity.
So here's our blueprint for the conversation. We're going to start with the fundamental choice every builder has to make in what I'm calling a tale of two towers. Then we'll lay down the governance foundation and start building up through the mandatory construction milestones. After that, we'll get the architect's final approval, and finally, we'll see how this whole process results in something you can actually ensure.
You know, the very first decision any architect makes isn't about the materials or the design. It's about philosophy. What are we actually trying to build here? Is this thing meant to last for a season, or is it meant to last for a century? That choice determines absolutely everything that comes after.
Now, in the world of AI, you've really got two paths you can take. On one side, you have these fast-build pop-up towers. They're basically impressive demos. They look amazing for a minute, but they're brittle. They're totally uninsurable, and you could never audit them. Then on the other side, you'd have the code-compliant high-rise. This is the institutional-grade approach. It's durable by design, it's governable, and it's fundamentally trustworthy. One is a temporary spectacle. The other is a permanent asset.
You wouldn't build a skyscraper on loose soil, right? Of course not. It needs to be built on a hardened, integrity-first foundation. For an AI system that's designed for permanence, that bedrock, that absolute non-negotiable starting point, is a rock-solid governance framework. Literally everything else rests on top of this.
So what's the core material that gives our foundation its strength? It's something we call approval integrity. The best way to think about it is like the steel rebar inside reinforced concrete. It's the verifiable, auditable trail of every single decision. This is what provides the real tensile strength, making sure accountability is woven right into the fabric of the system.
And this isn't just some abstract idea, okay? This is a fully engineered system. Our rebar has 4 key properties. First, verifiable checkpoints. Every decision is linked to evidence you can actually trace. Second, separation of duties. This just means that high-risk actions need an independent set of eyes for review. Third, a traceable lineage, so every single change leaves a permanent record that can't be tampered with. And maybe the most critical of all, a fail-closed design. If integrity ever gets compromised, the system doesn't just drift off course. It stops and it enters a safe mode, waiting for inspection.
Okay, so our foundation is secure. Now we can start building up. But we're not just throwing up walls in a chaotic rush. The process is disciplined. It's methodical. We move floor by floor, with mandatory, auditable milestones that have to be cleared before we even think about moving on to the next level.
This is our core construction cycle, and honestly, it directly mirrors the non-negotiable process of building a real skyscraper. First, we propose. That's exactly like filing for a building permit. Then we build. We construct the next floor according to the plan. Next, we evaluate. These are your mandatory structural inspections. We diagnose by reviewing all the stress test results, and only then do we plan and get the official sign-off for the next phase. You don't add a new floor until the one below it is certified safe and sound. Period.
This right here is the plan-first principle in action. The whole flow is designed to make progress legible, to make it accountable. This isn't just some workflow somebody drew on a whiteboard. This is our building code. It guarantees that implementation always follows verified intent. We simply do not break ground without a signed and approved blueprint.
But you know, even with the best laid plans and the most sophisticated automated checks, you still need ultimate human authority. For the most critical decisions, the ones that really define the skyline, the architect has to provide that final authoritative approval.
We have a name for this non-negotiable principle: human sovereignty. It's written directly into the constitution of our system. And what it means is that certain high-impact actions are just impossible to perform without an explicit, accountable sign-off from a human. The system can do the heavy lifting, but a person has to bear the ultimate responsibility for those critical decisions.
So how does this work in practice? Well, think of it like a two-key system in a bank vault. For any truly critical change, like raising the operational safety limits of the system or unlocking restricted zones of data, 2 separate authorized people have to turn their keys at the same time. It's a classic engineered control, designed to prevent a catastrophic error or somebody going rogue.
All right, so all this discipline, the foundation, the milestones, the human oversight, it all leads to a very specific, very important outcome. We're not just building a capable AI. What we're really doing is transforming a high-risk prototype into a credible, regulated-grade asset. One that's stable, predictable, and, ultimately, insurable.
And look, this approach isn't some crazy new idea we just invented. It's just the rigorous application of established, battle-tested risk frameworks, like the one from NIST. We identify risks, that's like surveying the land. We protect our controls, that's reinforcing the foundation. We detect drift with constant monitoring, like laser alignment checks on a high-rise. We respond by containing any issue to a single floor, and we recover using a safe, documented rollback plan. This is just standard operating procedure for any piece of critical infrastructure.
So in the end, the choice is actually pretty simple. It all boils down to this one question. When the inevitable storm hits, and it will, whether it's regulatory or a market crash or a technical failure, which tower do you want your name on? The one that was built fast for a demo or the one that was engineered for permanence? Because at the end of the day, capability gets you noticed. That's the pop-up tower. But it's credibility, the kind that's built through a disciplined, auditable, and transparent process, that's what makes you last. Those are the structures that truly shape the future.